Alrighty, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mainly Celtics. The first episode of the 2021-22 regular season. And unfortunately, the Celtics are sitting at 0-2 after the first week. Not the best
Yeah,
start.
I know. Especially, I mean, they're two decent teams. I mean, you might look at the Raptors last year and you might not consider them a decent team by how they finished last year. But I think the Raptors are going to be pretty good. We kind of talked about it. What was it last week? I think I said I had them as like the 8 or 9 seed in the East. Like, I think the Raptors are going to be pretty good. I think last year they had a lot of injuries. And as we kind of saw the other day, we'll talk more about the game later. Like they looked like to be a pretty solid team.
I think. Do you want to start with the Raptors, or do you want to go first back to the Knicks?
We can just start with the Raptors because we're already kind of on that, I guess. But
Yeah.
the Raptors game was disgusting. Like that's the one word I'd use. Like it was just the Raptors beat us in almost like every facet of basketball.
Yeah.
It was just an ugly game.
It was. I mean, down by 4 at the half. It was what, like 51-47, I believe.
Yeah.
At the half, and you end up just shitting a brick, not even scoring 40 points in the second half. I feel like that was evident last year as well, where we would come out of the break and have a really, really bad third quarter, and that would just set the tone for the rest of the game, and it would be a hole that the team could not dig itself out of. What do you think, Matt?
Well, the worst part about it wasn't like they just like came out flat second half. They like played pretty well for the first like 7 or 8 minutes of the third quarter, and then I think the run started with about 5 minutes left in the third, and then the Raptors just didn't look back and continued to pile on. It's just frustrating because the way they did it, it wasn't that the Raptors were playing well. It was the Celtics just got very sloppy. Like there seemed to be a string of turnovers near the end of that third quarter, and the Raptors hustled in transition and were able to get a lot of easy baskets. And it seemed like the effort on the Raptors side was just a lot greater than the effort on the Celtics side.
Absolutely. I think so at the break, like I said, it was 51-47, down by 4. And then in the third quarter, they come out and got outscored 33-17. And then the fourth quarter was 31-19. I mean, if you can't score 20 points in a quarter, that's very, very bad. That's less. That's what does that equate to? Like
80 points a game.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, but it's only like it's just over a point a minute which is just bad.
You're scoring. Well, they play 24 minutes and a half.
No, I mean I'm talking per quarter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so a little bit more if they're only scoring 17.
Yeah, like 1.2, 1.3 points a minute. That's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really ugly, and it's like we'll talk more about the Knicks game, but like the Knicks game, we at least had the excuse of okay, well at least we have like Al and Richardson, two guys that look to be one a starter and one a key rotational piece out of the lineup. But this game we had no excuses. Like everyone was fully there, and we looked like we had our full roster. It looked like the lineup we're gonna have going forward when everyone's healthy, and we just kind of laid a brick. Yeah. And like we said, like a lot of it was effort. Like they got a rebound like 60-40. Then they got doubled up on offensive rebounds like 21-10. Like they just Precious Achiuwa, like give credit to him. Like he was flying around, he was hustling, he was really, really wanting it. But the Celtics bigs, I mean, I love Rob as much as anyone. Like he's gotta be better there. He's gonna be more physical in those situations. You can't have Precious Achiuwa like being able to change, and Scotty Barnes being able to completely change the game by all those extra possessions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're spot on. 21 offensive rebounds to 10 and 60 rebounds to 42. 25 turnovers is really bad.
Yeah, especially when you have 19 assists.
Yeah, 25 turnovers to 11 that Toronto. I mean, 11 turnovers isn't great, but I mean, it's far
You'll
better.
certainly live with 11 turnovers. Like
Yeah.
we
I
said,
mean,
it's when you get north of 20 when it becomes a big issue.
yeah, I mean, there were 5, 10, 17,
I think
15 turnovers in the starting lineup alone. Like,
yeah, because I know Jalen and Tatum both had 5.
yep. Rob had
And
1 and Marcus had 2.
yeah, Marcus Smart also and we'll talk about this more with the Knicks game as well, but offensively, he and Schroeder this game were just horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, Schroeder only took 4 shots, 1 of 4, 0 for 2 from 3. Marcus Smart, 0 of 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3-point.
Yeah, I mean that's tough when those are your two guys pretty much with the ball in their hand at all times. Like when they're not a threat to score at all in a game, it makes it tough for the whole offense to really click.
Absolutely. That being said, I know we just broke down a whole lot of shit things, but the cherry on top for this in terms of looking at the box score and just like overall performance, the Celtics shot 11 free throws. They were 8 of 11 for the entire game, 11 free throws, and Toronto went 21 of 21 from the line.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. And we talked about this last year. The problem with this team is we don't get to the line enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you thought that maybe go away a little bit with Kemba Walker leaving, because I know Kemba wasn't great at getting the line. We're hoping Tatum reaches that next level of stardom, and I think the big key for him is to continue to work to get to the line like we saw in that playoff series versus Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to get to the line, it's going to be really tough to get those easy buckets, especially when the offense is really starting to kind of sputter.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really going to need to do that going forward. And I do think they tried. It seemed like the biggest issue with the Toronto game, it seemed like they had a lot of opportunities. They would drive, and rather than kicking out, they would try to either make a contested layup or they'd wait too long and then pass it. And then by that time, the pressure would come and there'd be either like slow passes that would get to the guy, like not like just in a slow manner, and they get the defense be able to recover, mm-hmm. or they're throwing the pass when pressured and they're throwing a lot of turnovers that way. That's where it seemed like a lot of the turnovers came when they were trying to drive and kick. They just weren't kicking quick enough. Like they got to be quicker and be better decision makers there.
Right. I mean, one thing from Jason Tatum that he was hammering on all offseason was the fact that he needs to shoot more free throws and needs to attack the basket more. And I think Jason Tatum had 1 free throw attempt. One free throw attempt. And another thing, team-wise, what everyone, including us, what we've all spoken about for this team was ball movement. And when you're late on your passes, you're late on your rotations, you're late on, like you said, decision making when you do need to make the pass. If you're too slow on that, it stops everything, and you get a game where you score 83 points in an NBA game. Like that in today's world, that should never be happening, especially to a team that has real playoff aspirations, like that is nearing the prime of their core, that has put pieces around that core that is just so capable of a lot of things, and to not be able to be precise with the things that they need to do, to not be precise with the things that they had really emphasized over the offseason. It's disappointing and concerning. I know it's 2 games. I know that they could go out and win 10 more games. That happened 2 or 3 years ago. They lost the first 2 games and then ended up being 16-2 after
the Kyrie year.
Yeah, right.
It was like the Kyrie fuck you year.
Yeah, right.
He told the fan fuck off, and then they went on a run. But right after the Hayward injury.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of speak to your point, like I do think the passing has gotten better, where I do think our assist rates have gone up significantly from last year. I mean, it's just 2 game sample size, but I do think the turnovers are about where we were last year. We're still a very high turnover team, and going to continue to lose close games if we're turning the ball over and we're creeping up consistently into that 20 turnover range. As far as defensively, I know they're heavy switching. I'm getting a little concerned with that because I think part of that maybe allowed Precious Achiuwa to really eat, especially because they have some lineups where neither Rob or Al's on the court, and that's probably going to happen if they continue to start both of them.
Yeah.
And even with them court, they were switching, and then Rob was getting switched on to Fred VanVleet. He was far away from the basket, and then they had the opportunity. The shot goes up, and then there's none of the bigs are inside, and Precious Achiuwa's be able to reach up over all the smaller guards and grab the board. So that's something that they can look at. I know Al's obviously a very switchable player, but maybe look to start hedging some screens more or dropping a little bit more with Rob only lineups.
Absolutely, that's something.
Or even Rob plus Al lineups just to kind of benefit Rob.
Yeah, I mean we've talked extensively about the defensive versatility of this team, but it's been abused in these two games. I mean, we saw it with Precious, and then we saw going into the Knicks game, we saw Julius Randle really take over and be able to do his thing. I was really impressed with Randle. Just sort of to go going off script here a little bit. Do you have anything else that has really like sort of stood out to you? I mean, there's been a couple things for me. Peyton Pritchard has really not impressed. He's getting looks. He's not.
Pritchard seems like his minutes are, like we talked about, I think his minutes are going to get cut, and they look like he get cut. I think part of it could be the nose thing. Yeah. Maybe that's limiting him a little bit because they're like, well, like that's obviously going to affect him a little bit playing with a broken nose. He's not going to be able to be as physical, and it's just probably a lot different with him trying to shoot with that thing on. I'm sure it's not the same. I think it must feel a little bit awkward. Romeo's looked very good through two games. I really like to have seen out Romeo. Nesmith didn't get any playing time till like the last till pretty much garbage time of the Toronto game, but didn't play at all. Or no, he didn't play. He played the first game, but he didn't play really at all till last game. So it looks, and he got significantly less minutes than Romeo in the first game, and that looks to be something that looks like that just might be what it is this year. It looks like maybe Romeo has impressed MA more than Nesmith, which. I mean, I love Romeo.
It wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility. Romeo's
No, not at all. But that's just it just does stink that we have these guys. We have these lottery picks, or at least Nesmith was a lottery pick, kind of buried on a roster that showed a lot of promise, and he's knocking at minutes because we're so heavy at the guard position. I still think, just looking at this year, I still think we need another 4 or 5 type player. If we are going to play Al and Rob together, we do need an actual backup center, a switchable one. We can't just because we're not going to send Enes Kanter out there. And I don't think these Grant center minutes, especially with him being as slimmed down as he is going to be super effective long term.
No, I agree. I miss Daniel Tice so much.
Yeah, Tice wouldn't be a bad one. I wouldn't mind hitting up San Antonio, seeing if Thad Young's available.
Yep.
Maybe put Josh Richardson in a trade for him. I don't know if they'd want to do that, but I just think we're still too guard heavy, which is one of my concerns. I don't think we have those bigger players. If we are going to start and play Al and Rob together the whole season, to really be able to be physical enough to compete with a lot of these teams.
No, you're spot on. This team does need a backup center. And just to wrap up my Pritchard, I mean, he was minus 30 in the Toronto games. He played 16 minutes and was minus 30.
Yeah, he played at the end. He was in that roster at the end though, and it went from a 20-point game to a 30-point game real quick. So that's your minus 10 right there. Yeah. Just because him and Nesmith were just jacking shots at the end of the game because the game was pretty much over. There's 2 or 3 minutes left, and they're already down 20.
Right. Let me just check real quick his plus minus in New York. Pritchard was +4. Okay, so Still nowhere near net
Okay.
positive, but
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. Like, I don't like to look at plus minus for individual games unless there's something egregious. Like, plus 30 is pretty egregious, but
yeah,
I
that's
feel like plus minus is a stat that really only tells a better story and a bigger sample size.
I agree with that, but I mean, plus 30 really stands out.
Yeah, it does. We could look at the. You want to switch over to talking about the Knicks game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Something we didn't talk about actually with the Toronto game was Jaylen Brown only scoring 9 points, coming off a 46-point outburst, 20 points in the first quarter. Tough to lose when one of your guys goes for 46, like.
Yeah, I mean, Smart and Tatum did not play well. I was really I thought I was really going to have a positive take about Smart about midway through the second half. And then he started kind of getting a little trigger happy. It wound up benefiting us a little bit at the end. He did hit a big shot at the end. But I was really liking first half his shot selection. He was really a guy that was looking to pass first. But he kind of stretched in the third quarter. I believe at the time we had the lead, or it was at least a close game, and the Knicks were able to gain some ground on us because Smart was jacking and missing.
Right.
Tatum was just terrible all night. Jaylen was obviously wonderful. I thought Rob played okay, but Rob looked like he was – I don't know. He looked like something that was definitely off. And we talked about the knee soreness, but he looked afraid to jump a lot of times. Like, he had a couple, like, lobs, which normally he'd throw down, and instead he's kind of just, like, catching them and, like, lightly lobbing them in. Or, like, he was, like, trying to lay the ball up rather than just trying to dunk it over people. So he did look a little look like he was a little concerned and maybe trying to stay off that knee a little bit. So that's something we should definitely I'd be a little bit concerned about going forward.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, there were two or three cases where he caught a lob that last year would have been pretty vicious, but ended up just sort of redirecting the ball off the glass, like.
Yeah.
Again in this game, the team went stagnant in the third quarter. Just gave up. They were up by, what is this? Only up by 3 at the half, but then only up by 3. Then there's an 8-point differential in the third. Like halfway through the third, the Knicks took the lead, and it took a massive effort. 10 points in the last like 29 seconds to
yeah, because they had a pretty significant lead like midway through the fourth, and I was like, wow, this game's essentially over.
Yeah.
And obviously they hit a couple big shots. I know Tatum hit one of his only 3. It might have been his only 3 of the night, maybe at 2. He hit one big 3, then Smart hit one big 3.
Tatum 2 for 15.
Yeah,
2 for 15 from 3.
Yeah, so that was his second 3 of the game, but it came in a big spot.
Yeah.
But still definitely not ideal those guys played in that way. And like I said, I think the offense got a little bit stagnant, and Smart decided to take a bunch of shots, which didn't really help because he was missing them.
Yeah.
I don't think Schroeder provided much scoring-wise in this game either.
5 for 16.
5 for 16, not great. No. By any means, tough it's never a good sign when you have more field goal attempts than points. Yeah. Romeo looked good. Yes, Romeo was 4 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3. I love to see that Romeo. Grant tried his best.
Yeah,
Rob looked good. Grant tried his best. I think last year Grant might have stood a better chance against Julius Randle because last year's Grant was a little bit thicker.
Yeah,
and Julius Randle was kind of bullying him a little bit. I think he played better against him in the second half. Julius Randle also just had a lot of really tough shots that didn't really matter who was guarding him.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think Grant played okay defensively on him. I mean, he had 34 out of Julius Randle? 35? So, I mean, that's tough. But he's also Julius Randle. And like I said, he was making a lot of tough shots. I think ideally – in most situations against the Knicks, we're going to have Al Horford on him for the most part, and then sub Grant in periodically. Yeah. I think that would be a best case scenario for that. I think that'll help a little bit. It looked like towards the end of the fourth and then the first overtime, looked like they were dropping, but there's also a lot of confusion because it seemed like they were dropping Rob would drop, and then whoever was defending Fournier was switching on to the big, and then Fournier was just being left wide open. That's where he got a lot of his points. And they talked about it after the game, like that was the plan, was to start dropping Rob so he could stay down, protect the paint, and defend the pick and roll. But there's some confusion there, which is going to happen, I guess, early in the season. You typically get that stuff worked out in the preseason, but obviously we were missing a huge chunk of our roster for the preseason.
Yeah.
So this was a tough game to lose, but I wasn't as upset as I was with the Raptors game because I thought they were very competitive. And they did have two guys that were one starter and one key rotational piece out.
Yeah. I mean, it's forgivable. First night of the season at the Garden, not the Garden, at Madison Square Garden, but it's a tough place to play. Game one, and you get a great comeback. You get, like I said, 10 points in 29 seconds. Get to push the game to overtime after a sort of lackluster third quarter and giving up a lead, things like that. And it was nice to see at least. So yeah, coming out of game one like that, I wasn't upset. I mean, it would have been nice to win, especially after tying it and going to overtime. But the Toronto game, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Honestly, I was at work for the third and fourth quarter, and I pulled up my phone, and I had saw that the C's were up at the half, and I pulled up my phone and I saw 115 to 83, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, the C's won big. And then someone at work was like, no, they got smoked. And it took it, like, it didn't even register to me that they lost. It didn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I mean, it was just sloppy, and it all happened so fast. It seemed like the game was very tight, and then all of a sudden it went completely in the Raptors' favor.
Mm-hmm.
But we can kind of talk about. Do you have any more thoughts about the Knicks game?
No, I mean, I think it was interesting to see the reaction from the C's guys about Evan Fournier. I thought that they were sort of saying where was this last year, you know?
Yeah, it really makes you think if he never went out with COVID, what could have happened down the stretch last year? Because he got here and he was immediately out with COVID as soon as he got here, and that kind of did throw off the season where they were hoping to make a late season push, maybe get into that 6, 7, even that 7 seed range. Not have to play in the play-in, but alas, it's in the past. Kemba didn't have much of a night. No, what do you have? 10 points.
8 points
on 3 for 8 shooting. 10 points on 3 for 8 shooting. So not a great night at Kemba.
No, I mean he did make his first shot, which was a very typical Kemba fashion, you know, come in off the dribble, stop at the 3-point line and bang a 3 to start the game, and then sort of do nothing, you know. Like you think he gets off to a hot start, think he's gonna keep it rolling, do the thing, do his thing, get downhill, you know, and make jumpers, but then just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I really expected this to be the best game of the season for him. I expected him just to come out and drop 40 tonight,
exactly,
and then not break 20 for the next 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But now, so 0-2, we have a get right game tonight at 7. Sunday, October 24th against the Houston Rockets. This is a game I will be very upset if we lose. There's no excuse for the Rockets.
No.
The Raptors, you could say maybe they're going to be a bad team because they were bad last year. I personally think they're going to be a pretty solid team, but the Rockets are going to be bad. They're young, they're not very deep, they don't have any star power. Their guy making on a max contract's not even playing for them. So we really need to win tonight to get the ship right and kind of maybe start a winning streak.
Absolutely. I mean, the Rockets this is a back-to-back. They're playing last. Are they play? Did they? Might have been 2 nights ago, but they won big. They won big the last game that they played. I think not Josh Christopher. Jalen Green had a. Let me find it. Hold on. They beat the Thunder, another bad team, by 30. No, bad game from Jalen Green. I'm lying.
Yeah, Jalen Green, I'm pretty sure struggled his first 2 games. Scotty Barnes, though, looked really good.
He did, yeah.
Who I was very high on because I liked his big knock was he wasn't much of a scorer. And so far he's averaging 18.5 points a game through 2 games. So maybe he developed that skill. Because he was pretty much, he can do everything else but score the basketball. And now he's scoring the basketball. So
yeah, I mean, I was a
pretty scary player.
I was a big skeptic, and if he continues to play like this, it'll be all rookie team type stuff. I don't have anything else. I'm just like we said earlier, disappointing could probably be the title of the episode. Yeah.
One more thing about a rookie. Have you seen Davion Mitchell clips or anything?
No, I haven't.
He is locking up, dude. Like some of the defense I've seen play on him. I don't know when the last time a rookie made an all defensive team, but I think this guy has a real shot. Like he is really good defensively, like the real deal. He has a great nickname. His nickname's Off Night, which is just kind of sick. Like it's like I'm growing. Like I don't really love the college seniors for the most part. But he's just the real deal defensively, and like that puts his floor at a really high place. And he's like been pretty solid, I think, offensively too through 2 games. Like nothing amazing, but is there anyone on this team that's genuinely concerned you with their performance through the first couple games?
I mean, it would be nice to have Jason Tatum shooting over 23% from 3. It would be nice to see him take more than 1 free throw. That's probably the biggest concern, is the fact that he hasn't really got it rolling. But to be honest, like there's really no cause for concern because he could go for 60 tonight. Like,
yeah. I mean, Tatum, it's Tatum. Like I'm not too concerned with him. Smart and Schroeder. I don't know their numbers necessarily together, but I feel like it's not great. I can probably look that up real quick, but neither one has looked good like offensively. They've both been good facilitators, but scoring the basketball, they've both really struggled, and we're gonna need more production out of that, out of the point guard spot. Like if they're taking up almost all the minutes at point guard, which they are, they're gonna need more than like I'm pretty sure combined this season they're probably shooting like under 25%.
Yeah. I'm looking up rookies who made first team defense.
I feel like the last one was probably like Tim Duncan or something.
Yeah, Tim Duncan was all NBA first team, all defensive second team. So yeah,
which is like crazy to think about, but he's looked very good. But also, I think he's playing on like last year the Kings were like the worst defense in history. And they usually tend to pick guys from better defensive teams to make the all defensive team. So that might really hurt him.
That might hurt, yeah. But I don't know. Could happen. He's probably got the best shot since then. You know, I don't think. I mean, Patrick Williams was picked as a guy last year to be like a defensive guy, but he wasn't close to an all.
He was solid. He was like good for a rookie, but he wasn't good.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think like who's come out of college. I mean, maybe Marcus Smart was a guy that could have maybe heralded as a potential all defensive rookie guy. I'm trying to think.
It's never going to be a big because the bigs just aren't physical enough when they come out. Like that's just unless you're Tim Duncan. I feel like usually the seniors have the best chance, and I'm trying to think of some like older guys last couple of years that were known as just like complete like stalwarts defensively. I knew that. I mean, Kawhi, like that's what he was. Like he was, like he was just an athlete. Marcus Gasol was fat when he came out of college, or well, not college when he got drafted. Like he was legit just not a very athletic looking dude.
Mm-hmm.
So some notes before we move on to another. Once again, this is just a bad week to be a Boston sports fan. So the Maine Celtics, they had their G League draft. They drafted Isaiah Ross from Iona and former Nevada guard Lindsey Drew, who is son of Larry Drew, who is a longtime NBA coach, I believe, most famous for. I'm pretty sure he's coach of one of the LeBron Cavs teams.
Yeah, you're right.
I think he's Jason Tatum's uncle now that I think about it.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like there's like a old tweet like of Jason Tatum tweeting at LeBron and be like, "Hey, it's me."
Oh yeah.
Larry Drew's on. I think that was Larry Drew that he's the roster is set for the preseason or training camp, which includes Arcidiacono, Juwan Morgan, Luke Cornett, Theo Pinson, Chris Clemens, Sam Hauser, Broderick Thomas, who is the second two-way contract the Celtics signed.
Yep.
And local D3 legend Eric Demers. I gotta ask Ian about that.
Yeah.
So they have a D3 player signed to it. So I don't know if he means local as in Maine legend or if he means like local as in like Boston legend. But a D3 basketball player, that's pretty cool. Don't see that very often.
No. Eric, I'm looking it up right now.
And Kenny Wooten Jr., who is the two-way guy who is a two-way player for the Knicks. Not last season, but season before, is also on the Maine Celtics roster. So we also have the disappointing Red Sox.
Yeah.
Who I was all in getting my plans prepped for going to the parade, thinking that no one could stop this team. They were the hottest team in baseball. They scored 25 runs through 3 games. And then their bats just fell silent.
Yeah, I mean, they pissed away this series pretty handily, pretty mightily. Had the opportunity to really put the nail in the coffin in that game
4.
Game
that
4.
That was the game that was 2-2, I think, and
ended up losing.
What's his name? Laz Diaz. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Laz Diaz really blew it. Sale looked pretty good in his start, which was nice to see him come back. Like that's what sucks is it wasn't like our whole year. We're like, okay, if anything's gonna let us down, it's gonna be the pitching. It wasn't even the pitching. Like the pitching was fine. Like last couple games. Like I thought Sale and Eovaldi especially. I thought they both pitched very well, and the relief pitching wasn't great for sure. But also they weren't scoring any runs, so it really didn't matter because they're down and they couldn't close the gap.
Not getting. I mean, they got 2 hit to lose the series too. I mean, it just really was disappointing, especially after the start that they made. Like this team started off hot with no expectations, and then they had our expectations. They changed it. I mean, like by middle of June, this team was the best team in the American League, the 3rd best team in the entire league behind San Fran and LA. Like at that point it was like, okay, we're going to the playoffs and we're going to be a good team. I mean, like, and then the end of June and through the end of July happened where they blew a 7-game lead to
New York,
Tampa, no, and to New York. True.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like
they were over New York. Yeah.
They're like a week before the trade deadline. They were like 7 games up or six games up on Tampa. By the deadline, they were only a game and a half up, and then 2 weeks later, they were 5 games back. Like it was an up and down season for sure. It was disappointing the way the series ended, but to be honest with you, that the Red Sox ended up as the 3rd or 4th best team in the whole league. You know, like the 4 best teams, I think, outside of the Giants were the last 4 teams remaining. I think that the Sox are going to be able to do that for a while. There's going to be a massive need for the starting rotation revamped. Let me ask you, do you think that the Sox re-sign Erod? Because I asked Rick, our former host.
Expert.
Yeah. Expert.
Our baseball expert on the show.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. Like, it depends on what money he's going to ask for. He definitely didn't have a great numbers last year, so I feel like he can't ask for a whole lot. So I feel like the Red Sox would be able to get him in pretty cheap. And I do think he'll overperform of what he did next year. Because he also, like, I was surprised he pitched as well as he did, honestly. Like, I thought he was going to be based on what I've heard, like how he dealt with COVID, like he was barely able to walk in like last October. I was like, I don't know if this dude's gonna be able to like complete a whole season.
Mm-hmm.
So I really thought that like both he and Sale, like I was like, okay, well I think 2022 is gonna be the year this team's really gonna be good because I think Sale's gonna be back to 100% after the Tommy John surgery. Obviously he's aging, but still, I think Erod's finally would probably be back fully healthy for that season, and then they continue to have the young stars that are hopefully continuing to improve. Hey, I do think they need to go out. I wouldn't mind re-signing Erod, get another starting pitcher, get some relief pitchers, which are very cheap. Like good relief pitching is very cheap for the most part.
Very cheap.
And then either get an outfield bat. I think an outfield bat wouldn't hurt, or get a second baseman, or both. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I know Kike is obviously versatile, but whatever you need, the biggest need is, I think they need someone to like I don't mind Kike in center, but I feel like you need one more bat in the outfield, especially if you're going to stick with Schwarber at first base. They need to figure out what they're going to do with Dahlbeck. I don't know if they trade him for maybe one of those pieces or what they do with him.
Yeah.
But I don't think you just want a guy that's hopefully a budding star where I think his trade value is still pretty high. I don't think you want him just like sitting for a full year.
Right. Also,
and they have Casas coming up too. Like Casas is going to be here pretty
Tristan
soon.
Casas is going to be, he's probably going to be on the 25-man roster next year. I don't know what they do with Jarren Duran either, who lit it up in AAA, but then really didn't get his shot in the outfield. Do you think they re-sign Renfroe too?
I don't know. Like his defense, like he has a cannon for an arm. He's able to get a lot of defensive assists. I think he's a pretty solid right fielder for the most part.
Yeah, I do too.
I just don't think he. Yeah, it's like tough though because this was like pretty much a career year for him, right?
It was close.
Offensively?
No. I mean, he's probably right around a 250, 300 or 250, 30 home runs. I don't know if it was that much of a career year. I think he started off poorly and then sort of rounded into form. It may have been a plus year for him, but
I mean, his career batting average is, let's see, his 62 game average. It's 162 game average. So an average season for him is 237 with 297 OBP, 490 slugging, 786 OPS, and he averages about 36 home runs and 91 RBIs. This year he had 31 home runs, 96 RBIs. So his batting average was up from most seasons. His on-base percentage was up quite a bit. His slugging was up quite a bit from most seasons. OPS was up. It was his best OPS season by about 11 points. So
okay, so
it was a career year, but it wasn't like a huge leap from some of his past years. Yeah. It was from the previous couple.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't think he did. Yeah, because he didn't have those numbers since like in last year in Tampa Bay.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think he had a good year. Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what he wants to sign for though too.
Yeah, I mean, he was on a 1-year, $10 million deal. If he wants 2 years, 20, would you do that?
I mean, I don't know, dude. Baseball money is so weird with me because I don't know what they're gonna want to do to like I don't know what tax things they're gonna try to avoid. I mean, I wouldn't mind it if what did you say, 2 years, 20?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that wouldn't seem terrible, but also like I don't know. I think that would be the least of my concerns is getting him. I'd probably try and get a bigger name first and basically he be your safety plan.
Right.
Maybe a 1-year deal. That way I feel like it's pretty easy to move a 1-year deal. But
yeah, I mean, so
they need to figure out something.
Who then, let me pull up the free agents. I know I looked at it previously.
I think the big name is like Marcus Semien this year, like positions that like of need for us.
Yeah, but
Marcus Semien is
going to be very, very expensive. I mean, he's probably going to be top 5 MVP. The big names are Kershaw, Scherzer, Stroman, Kevin Gausman.
I mean, if you want to take any of those pitchers, I'd gladly take one of those guys.
Yeah, I think the Sox, if they want to get back to where they were this year, back to the CS, they'll need to go after Stroman or Gosman. I don't think
I would
Stroman.
take Scherzer. I think even Scherzer and Kershaw. Like Kershaw, those injuries though, and I don't know if I want him and Sale both on the same team.
Yeah.
So if their injuries time out just right, you got to be missing both of them. Because Kershaw's still putting up like really good numbers. He just has been lately pitching like 10, 15 starts a year. Like he's just not healthy for very long. When he's healthy, he's great, but he just isn't healthy super often.
Yeah. Joe Kelly is a free agent. I'm trying to see other guys.
Wouldn't mind him coming back for sure.
Robbie Ray is going to get a bag somewhere. What I've been reading is Robbie Ray to the LA Angels is probably what will happen.
Dude, the Angels are trying so hard to get pitching. Like they're trying to get everyone that can pitch. They draft, I think, all 20 pitchers last year, and the 20 rounds they all be drafted. Which I guess it's like clearly we can't develop them very well or develop like decent ones. So let's just hope that one of these guys develops.
Yeah. I had a pitchers list up. Nolan Arenado, Chris Bryant is available. I'm trying to think of who could play right field. I mean, Chris Bryant could play right field. Corey Seager, Trevor
Cubs.
Carlos Correa, Javi Baez. Those are big names, but they won't come to the Sox.
Yeah, I don't think the Sox should be giving out any like huge deals. Like I think they'd give out some of like the bigger deals to like the second tier players at some positions. Like I don't think they're going to be dishing out any like $30 million $35 million contracts.
I bet Schwarber gets a $30 million contract.
I don't think so. He's a guy positionally is a below average defender. He's obviously a great hitter, but he's also like he's either probably going to DH or play below par defense at first or in the outfield.
Yeah, I still think he gets 30. Not 30 a year, but like cumulatively like $30 million.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm saying like Correa though. Like I'm sure he's probably gonna be asking for $30 million a year.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's gonna want to come close to one of those $300 million.
Correa goes for $250 million plus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
I think Schwarber might sign for around like $15 to $20 million like yearly range. But I'm sure I think there's one website that does like the player estimates of like what they're gonna sign.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Let me find Schwarber. Jackie Bradley Jr. is a free agent.
Because I just feel like I love JBJ, but I don't think he wants to come back to Boston.
Estimated at $13 million.
Yeah, I'd love that. If Schwarber wants to come back like 3 years, $40 million. That'd be sick.
That would be perfect.
And then I don't know about JD. I think JD has an opt-out after this year.
Let me find it.
So I'm pretty sure JD could opt out. Ideally, I think he opts in. Maybe Cassis develops one more year. Plays a little bit at the big league level. And then when JD's 35 years old, then Cassis kind of slides in at first and Schwarber goes to DH.
Mm-hmm. Brock Holt is a free agent.
I'd love me some Brock Holt. That'd be good vibes.
Incredible vibes.
Just on 1 year, basically like essentially like a vet min equivalent.
Yeah, exactly. Who else? I'm looking for some of these old names, young that we could get for the vet min type money. Matt Harvey would be interesting.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, he pitched well in Baltimore.
I guess he did, but I don't know. Dude. I just don't trust him. I'm sure Heim's gonna have a lot of under the radar moves that we're gonna do that people are gonna be like, oh, okay, just kind of like brush over, and then they're gonna want to make a big impact. But this year, like Renfroe, we did get a lot of bang for a buck with some of those guys like Renfroe and Kike and
absolutely
some of the other free agents to sign. So I think Heim will continue to do that, but I think he also have the freedom to spend a little bit and hopefully go out and get a player that's really going to put this team over the top.
Yeah, I think that's the Sox have not spent since. I mean, when Heim came in and traded Mookie, that sort of ended the big money era. I mean, the Red Sox were what, fourth in payroll still, just with Sale. I think they have Pablo on the fucking book still.
Yeah, you have Aldi still making like 17 mil. That's not nothing.
No, it's not nothing at all.
They have a lot of guys making like in the mid-teens for money, 20s. Like I know Bogarts must make a decent penny. I know JD's.
Bogart signed a fairly friendly deal, but I think next year he can opt out of it.
Hopefully just keep Bogarts forever.
Yeah, and Rafi's looking to get extended too.
Yeah, and he's gonna be worth big money.
Kike should get extended next year. I mean, I think you said it best. Second base, first base, and one more outfield position. Outside of the pitching, those three positional players are areas where we need to improve. I was a big fan of Christian Arroyo. Played really well. Couldn't stay healthy though.
I like Iglesias too.
Yeah, I think
Iglesias, I don't know if they have it back next year.
to come. I think Iglesias needs to come back.
He'd be great. Another one was like I said, like a vet, like kind of like a vetman kind of guy. Just have him as your, whether or not your starter, but preferably probably your backup, can play short and second base at a high level defensively.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be huge.
It would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think those are all my takes that I have for the day.
Yeah, I'm sure we can stir on it for the next couple of weeks too. Before the winter meetings happen and all that. And we'll obviously have some World Series talk coming up. But yeah, I don't have any more Red Sox stuff.
Yeah. Hopefully tonight we end our night with watching the Celtics beat the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
A little revenge for the Astros.
Absolutely.
And hopefully maybe they get a little bit of winning streak. Hopefully next week we're talking to you with a more chipper tone about how the Celtics season's going so far.
It better, because I'm wallowing over here.
I know it really sucks when I'm staying up way past my bedtime to watch these games, and they're disappointing me.
Because I know how important
losing sleep over it.
Maddie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tired. I'm waking up 5 a.m. every morning. I can't afford to stay up till 10:30 just to watch them lose.
Yeah.
But okay, pal. I'll see you next week.
You got it.